The storms, do you know we've had 5 named storms in our country this year? And we named the storm because it's really bad. What we've seen in terms of the Midwest and the floods that have caused farmers to lose a whole season of crops. And so Joe says, hey, this is undeniable. Let us embrace the science on this. Let us treat this with a sense of urgency and put in place timelines like the goal of net zero emissions by 2050. Let us understand that all of us need to breathe clean air and drink clean water. Joe understands this is also a civil rights and a human rights issue. When you look at the fact that in all of the jurisdictions of poor air quality in our country, in 70% of them, it's people of color who live there. Joe understands that when we talk about this crisis, there is a moment of opportunity in this crisis, which is to invest in renewable energies, invest in wind turbines and solar paneling, invest in building up the skills of America's workforce to take on the jobs that are necessary to confront this crisis, an investment in our infrastructure which will create millions of jobs. Joe understands that. On the other hand, you have Donald Trump, who, when he was asked about the wildfires in California, so the journalist asked something along the lines of, so Mr. President, these wildfires are happening, people are suffering, and the scientists are telling us there's a connection between this and the extreme weather conditions and human behaviors that have contributed. The President of the United States of America, who is also the Commander-in-Chief of the United States of America, responded by saying, science doesn't know. Science doesn't know. This is what the President of our country said. And so here's the thing, Mr. President, science does know. And so does the major scientific magazine, which has endorsed Joe Biden for President of the United States. So we're dealing with a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. It is. But we're all here together. We're all here together. And yes, these moments, and in particular when you compound it with what we have had to do to deal with this virus and social isolation and the distancing, look at all of us, we can't even shake hands and hug, we're wearing masks. It has a tendency to really make people feel alone. And I think that what's important about this afternoon and what you all have been doing throughout really makes the statement that we are not alone. And that then brings up one of the reasons for my visit today, which is the importance of voting. Voting today and tomorrow in terms of early voting. Early voting is critically important. And then, of course, voting on Tuesday. And, many people come up to me, and probably to you, and they say, why should I vote? And I think there are 3 reasons people should vote. One is to honor the ancestors. Honor the ancestors. People like a friend of Ted and Debbie and mine, our colleague, the great, great, great American hero, John Lewis. John Lewis, who told us, you love your country, get in good trouble. John Lewis, who shed his blood on that Edmund Pettus Bridge so that, in particular, black people could vote, but that all people could vote. John Lewis, who, by the way, also understood it was a civil rights issue and there was a continuum of the fights that we have had and continue to have for civil rights. John Lewis, who, by the way, was front and center fighting for marriage equality. John Lewis, by the way, who was front and center saying we should fight for the dreamers. Let's honor the ancestors. That's a reason to vote. Reason to vote is we just celebrated this year the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment. Right? Among the ancestors, those suffragettes who, wearing their white, marched and shouted and fought for a woman's right to vote. It's important also because we always have to speak truth. Black women couldn't vote until 1965, so we got to deal with that too. But yes, let's honor the ancestors. That's a reason to vote. Reason number 2, everything is at stake. Everything is at stake. Everything we have already discussed, including our standing in a global world, the integrity of our nation. You know, one of the things about where we have been and America's strength around the world, yes, we have one of the finest militaries. But our strength also comes from the fact that we were known, for the most part, as being a nation that kept its word. That we knew the difference between our allies and our adversaries. That we honored our commitments, including our traditions, that include a respect and reverence for the rule of law, for the sanctity of one's election system and the need to protect it from foreign interference, things like that. So there's everything at stake. Everything is at stake. Reason number 3. I've been traveling around the country. I was just in Florida, I think a week and a half ago. Been to Georgia, North Carolina. Yesterday I was in Texas. I've been to, they're doing a great job in Texas. I was in Nevada, Arizona, you get the point. Michigan. All over our country, you know, starting in terms of recent history, starting with 2013 when the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act, where it basically took the teeth out of our ability to protect against states that have a history of discriminating against voters. So back since 2013, probably almost 24 states enacted laws that have been designed to suppress the vote, targeting African American voters, voters of color, students, Native Americans, you name it. And so much so that in North Carolina, a court that reviewed the law that they passed said it was designed with, quote, surgical precision to prevent, in that case, black people from voting. So we've been seeing this happen. We know all of these, what we've seen here in Florida. I mean, you know, the attempt to make voters confused, the attempt to make it difficult. We've seen around the country. You know, so I was in Texas yesterday in Houston, Harris County. You know, I like that. And in Texas, they're allowing 1 drop box per county, and in Harris County, there are 11 million people, guys. 1 drop box. In other states, we're seeing, you know, this thing about if you're going to vote by mail, you fill out your ballot, and then you can put it in 1 envelope, but don't forget to put it in that 2nd envelope, and then you got to sign that, and then in some states, you know, somebody else has to sign it. All kinds of stuff. We're seeing, you know, the President of the United States essentially took that debate stage and openly encouraged the suppression of the vote. So I bring all this up to say, one has to ask, why are so many important people going out of their way to make it so difficult and confusing for us to vote? And I do believe the answer is because they know our power. They know our power. They know when we vote, things change. They know when we vote, we win. So let's not ever let anyone take our power from us. We know we have the power, that in our democracy, the power is with the people. You know, people ask me all the time, well, what do you think is going to happen the day after the election? I said, look, there is no question that over these last almost 4 years, our democracy has taken a beating. The rule of law, respect for the rule of law, the respect for the independence of the Department of Justice. I mean, I could go down the list, right? No question it has taken a beating. You know, you almost want to think about it like a hurricane hit a house. Yes, some of the shingles have fallen off, but the house is still standing. And I do believe that America's democracy will always be as strong as our willingness to fight for it. And so that's why we're all hanging out together this afternoon, because we are prepared to do just that. We are prepared to do what is necessary to stand up for this country we love. And so my last point then is this. This moment will pass. It will pass. And years from now, our children, our grandchildren, and others, they will look in our eyes, each one of us, and they will ask us, where were you at that moment in time? And what we will be able to tell them, Broward County, is so much more than just how we felt. We will tell them what we did. We will tell them what we did. We will tell them we organized, we mobilized. We will tell them we emailed and we texted and we called everyone we knew repeatedly until they got sick of us, but we knew they'd get over it. We will tell them that we reminded people that we are all in this together. We will tell them that we reminded everyone we know of their individual power. We reminded them that the power in our country comes from the people. And we will tell them we elected Joe Biden, the next president of the United States. Thank you, Broward County. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.